Welcome to Online Sports Talk, and today we are going to be talking about free agency as of Friday, March 17th, 6 p.m. Now, going to be talking about the Detroit Lions, obviously my favorite team. That's the team we talk about and we focus on this channel. The Lions free agency, I think, has been stellar so far. We all know that their secondary was not the best last year and was probably the biggest weak point on their team. I believe they were ranked 31st in pass coverage last year. So that is concerning. I know that on games when Deshaun Elliott was hurt, we did a lot worse also in the run game, which really hurt us. And so that was a big part of our success when we started playing well down the stretch was a healthy Deshaun Elliott. Now, in free agency, we have re-signed some pretty good players right off the bat. Isaiah Buggs, who called that all-player meeting that we just found out about, that helped turn that defense around. He is a defensive tackle. While I don't think he's going to be a starter, he's going to be your top guy, I do think that he brings a lot of leadership, and he's not afraid to do what needs to be done to get in people's faces and, rally the ship, right? As evidenced by the team meeting. So we brought him back, which is great. We brought back our captain, linebacker Alex Anzalone, which I really like. Really excited that we brought back John Kaminsky because when he played, we had a better chance of winning. I don't remember the percentages there, but he played to a level that definitely made a huge impact as evidenced by that. We also brought back Matt Nelson, who mostly played tackle this last year, whether it was left or right tackle during injuries and things like that. In the previous year, he did play some guard and didn't have any penalties while playing guard, so that's something worth note. I think he's a good depth guy. I don't think he's a starter quality guy, but definitely a good one to have in your rotation off the bench wherever you need him. We have re-signed Michael Bagley, our kicker, so that's all right. I mean, I'm one of the people that kind of hopes we can get Money Moody because I think Money Moody is going to be a good kicker. But yeah, so we did that. We brought back Will Harris, who is a corner that can play safety. So I like to see that. And then running back Craig Reynolds, I think can do some special teams and some things like that. So that's what we brought back. That's who we kept. So solid. I'm happy with that, right? There's still some guys out there. DJ Shark, for example. Justin Jackson, running back, a shifty running back. A couple other guys of note, like maybe Austin Bryant, Amani Oruwariye, CJ Moore at safety, Josh Woods at linebacker, Mike Hughes at corner. So there's some guys, backup Tommy Kramer, backup quarterback Nate Sudfeld. In fact, Tommy Kramer was a backup guard. He got some playing time last year. A lot of those I'm not real worried about. It's DJ Chark that everyone's watching. Supposedly he might re-sign with the Lions. They're talking about it. If I heard something in the $9 million a year mark for 1 year, 2 years, so a contract of upwards of like 24, 25 million, I think I'd be okay with that. I think that would be a good deal because he's going to probably be your number one. I know the hope is that Jameson Williams is going to step up this year and have a breakout season in his first full year, and that would be really cool. So I would be fine with them doing that, and then that solidifies our receiving core. I think our offense would be pretty good then. Let's talk about the guys that we signed that weren't here before. Running back David Montgomery. Love this pickup, right? He is tied with Chubb for the number one break tackle rate in the NFL last season. Chicago did not have a passing threat. It seemed like a team that they could cheat up in the box more. They could spy the quarterback. So you're keying run on defense all year long there. So looking at stats like his yards per average carry and things like that, a little bit less meaningful. He's averaged 800 yards, I believe, per season in his first 4 years in the NFL. So he's also fairly young. So that's always nice to see. So I'm excited to see what he does behind the Lions offensive line. His press conference was great. He's already been interviewed by the Detroit Lions, website and stuff like that. And just hearing him talk, you can tell he's excited to be here. He seems genuinely excited to get out there and tear it up and have a monster year. Depending on if Swift stays healthy or not, I still think Montgomery could hit 1,000 yards this year. We'll see, because him and Swift are two different type of running backs. Swift is more of your catch it out of the backfield, your quick, shifty guy who's going to make you miss tackles, whereas Montgomery might, run through a tackle, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they complement each other. Cameron Sutton is easily a top 20 corner in the NFL. Last year, if you included his interceptions and pass breakups, he was the number one corner in the NFL, just looking at those two stats. Coming from Pittsburgh, I know everybody there wanted to keep him. I know the organization wanted to. Fans were so upset to see him go. I watched a couple threads throughout Twitter and Facebook and stuff, and a lot of fans were really bummed to see him go. The Lions went and got his college teammate, Emmanuel Mosley, from the 49ers. Now, last year he was hurt. Torn ACL. The previous year, though, he had a monster year, and last year was having a really good year, too. So there is the chance that these two guys together could be one of the best corner duos in the NFL. They both will come up and hit a guy. So we've got that. Okuda's a hitter. So we've got three corners right now, probably our top three corners, who will lay the stick, I'm assuming Okuda will be our third. We'll see what happens. There's some questions still about him, I think. I like Okuda. I think he can be good. It's just a matter of, is he going to stay healthy and things like that. So, yeah. And then the Lions went and brought back a former Lion who played the last couple years in Denver, and that's Graham Glasgow, who obviously University of Michigan, and he can play center, he can play guard, got that versatility. I think he's going to start at right guard. And I think our offensive line is solid. We probably have a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. So that's nice to see. Now, players we lost. Jamal Williams. I think that's more of a thing that just hurts more emotionally as a fan. I think his production was great last year. I do think Montgomery could have had similar production with the Lions, though, if not much better. So there's that. We lost Jamal Williams to the Saints. So we also lost Deshaun Elliott, who in my mind was a key for our success in our defense. The Dolphins went and got him. I think we need to replace him. I know we've got Tracy Walker back. I know we've got Kirby Joseph back, both of them at the safety positions. I just think Deshaun Elliott was very good and really underrated. I don't see enough fans talking about the loss of him, and I do think we need to figure that out. We lost Evan Brown, who's a guard who can also play center. But I think Glasgow coming in to kind of replace him is totally fine. Brown was a good backup. He deserves a shot to start. And, I think he's probably going to get that with the Seahawks. And then one that's not really a big loss, mostly a special teams player. Didn't really do much when he got time to play. Chris Board, New England Patriots signed him. So that's where we're at with the current situation here in Detroit. I think the Lions really need to look at defensive tackle still. And McNeil's great. I actually think McNeil could be a all-pro. I think we need a safety because of Deshaun Elliott being gone. Those are my two biggest needs for the Lions. Obviously, we need linebackers. I think, Rodrigo is good. Anzalone's okay. I don't think Anzalone's a bad player. I know some people in message boards and things like that think that we overpaid for him. I don't think we overpaid for a captain who's going to be our starter day one. In fact, I like his attitude, his tenacity. I think in the run game, he is willing to come up and make some plays. In the Packers game, the last game of the year, in Lambeau Field, freezing cold, he came up big multiple times. So again, I think he's a plus player, but I do think we need to look for some other guys as well. To me right now, we have two linebackers. Barnes is solid, but again, hopefully he improves a lot this year. Last year he looked all right. But again, he's more of like a situational guy and things like that. So I think we need a linebacker. I also think, depending on what happens with Chark, I think we need a big body wide receiver. I think this is something we should look at in the draft. Maybe Quentin Johnston from TCU. And then we're at a point now where the Lions are competing for the playoffs. So last year, I know a lot of people were saying, oh, we need a backup quarterback. I can't believe we're signing Sudfeld and we're going into preseason with Blau. And last year, I didn't care. I didn't think the Lions were a playoff team. I didn't think a backup quarterback really mattered, right? In fact, I thought all it would do is hamper you in growing your team to be a playoff team in the future. Now, this year, I expect us to make the playoffs no matter what we do in the draft. I think we have a team that can make the playoffs next year, especially with these free agent signings. But now I think you need a backup quarterback. And if that's like a project quarterback you can groom to be your starter in 3 years, okay. I don't think you take it in the first round. Unless something crazy happens in the draft, I'm thinking along the lines of like a Bryce Young or Stroud somehow magically falling to 6. I don't think you go quarterback in the first round as a Lions fan. Maybe you can pick up Hooker in a few rounds into the draft. I'm not big on Stetson Bennett, but maybe later in the draft. He's an older player, so if you think he needs development, by the time you're done developing him, he's going to be 30 years old, so or close to it. So I'm not sold on Stetson Bennett either. I think he's fine, like I think he's going to be a good backup for a while. I just don't know if he's worth putting a high resource into. Some free agents I'd like to see us look at, and I've said since day one. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is top of my list. He's a safety. I think he fills that need that Deshaun Elliott, left. And I actually think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is better than Deshaun Elliott. I'd be fine us looking at Taylor Rapp, another safety. I think he could be good. I think he could step in and fill that role. So those are two safeties I would like to see us look at, but clearly Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, top of my list. When it comes to linebackers, I don't think you can go wrong with Bobby Wagner or Miles Jack. Miles Jack is really good cover linebacker, so I think he would really complement our defense well. Bobby Wagner is an all-pro, looking to win, and I think we can win. And if we had a guy like Bobby Wagner on our defense, that would be huge. So top 3, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Bobby Wagner, and Miles Jack. Then Taylor Rapp. Looking at all of that, say we don't get any new guys, right? We go into the NFL draft. I would probably look at best player available at 6, minus Jalen Carter. I'm kind of off on him now. I'd probably look at, again, Johnston from TCU would be a guy. Maybe at that 18, look at Branch, the safety from Alabama. Maybe the Pitt defensive tackle at 18, and Cansey. I'm sure I'm butchering it. Those are the 3 guys I'd love to see us get right now. Depending on what happens, Bijan Robinson is a guy that I would be pretty excited about, but he's probably like 5th or 6th on my list of who I'd like to see us get. Going into this offseason, I was heavily focused on defensive tackle. I still think that would be a huge get for our defense. It would make our linebackers look a lot better. Our pass rush would look better. Our run defense would be better. So I think a defensive tackle could be huge. But again, I really think with Deshaun Elliott being gone, we're missing that element in the secondary. And I think it could be Branch. I think he could be a good game changer there if we can get him at 18. Now, if at 6 the Lions don't like what's available and Jalen Carter's there and a team wants to trade up and get him, trade down, collect those extra picks. There are linebackers that might be there in the 2nd round for the Lions. I've seen some mock drafts by, not reputable sources. There's no reputable source when it comes to mock drafts, really. But I've seen some notable people with people like Jack Campbell in the 2nd round, even having like hardly any linebackers taken till the bottom of the 1st, which is crazy to me. But yeah, so if you can get Jack Campbell with your pick in the 2nd round, even if you have to trade up a touch, Jack Campbell's great. Like, that Iowa defense was stingy. It was nasty. So I would love to see something like that. That would make me happy. Again, defensive tackles, I told you, I'm really high on that defensive tackle from Pitt. I think around that 18 mark would be a good spot to get him. If you can get him even later, that's cool. I know Brad Holmes is really good at maneuvering in the draft, picking up more capital and, getting the guys he wants where he wants them and not overpaying to get those guys. So I think we could be good there. But yeah, that's what I'd like to see. So would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I'm going to do a mock draft probably Monday, get my new mock draft up for the Detroit Lions, a full 7-round mock. So if you want to see that, hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and we will see you guys next time.